Merry Monday. After so long. You missed me, didn't you? Oh, my skin is tired. Okay, guys, listen up. Today's topic is about responsibility and seeking forgiveness. Get on with the topic, shall we? Merry Mondays, that's why we're here, not to talk about me. Why I put responsibility before forgiveness is because at the center of every conflict between you and your spouse is the issue of personal accountability. It really is in response to a question someone had about how do you know when forgiveness is the end of the relationship and forgiveness should be a continuation of the relationship. And so I'm going to start in the positive realm by saying that with personal accountability, there can be forgiveness. Accountability sounds a little bit like this. Some people apologize and they go, sorry you feel that way, but or, hey, sorry I made you feel that way. That wasn't my intent. I'll make sure to not do that again. When you apologize in a way that takes ownership of the way that you made somebody feel, then that person is really hearing you say, I take ownership of that and I'm going to make sure to not do it again. And so the second piece is to talk about what happens next. Next is sort of critical to make sure that relationship continues and doesn't end. And it has to be along the lines of consequences for what happens if it does happen again, right? The intent should be to not repeat it. But if it is repeated, there has to be pretty clear guidelines of what to expect. It sounds a little bit like, hey, this is the second strike, third strike, and you're out. This is not gonna, I can no longer be with you if this happens again. Or, hey, this is the first time it's happened, it's the second time it's happened. I need a third-party intervener at this point. This is important. So every couple I've ever worked with in the past, I've told needs to have both a spiritual advisor and a counselor, just in case as a third-party intervener, but from the start line, not the finish line, not when the problems occur, okay? From before. Hey, I'm back, sans baby. Except the one that's incubating. Anyways, so having that third party is extremely important. Making sure that you still have a bond with your spouse. If you have a bond and a connection, if you laugh together, seek input from each other about life decisions, if you can actually talk about work and life and not feel, a lot of anxiety, and you guys have a strong friendship, a strong relationship foundation to your home, as John Gottman says, then it can last. I'm going to get negative for a second right here, which is what happens when forgiveness really doesn't mean a continuation of the relationship. It actually means the cessation or the end of a relationship. That really happens especially when there's a cycle of abuse. Cycles happen in waves where people ask for forgiveness who are abusive. They go through a honeymoon phase. You're kind of searching for the kind things that they say. And then it's just inevitable that the person will abuse the spouse again and they run into this. Paramount in abuse cycles is professional help from a trained mental health professional. Oftentimes, if you are suspecting being abused mentally, physically, sexually, financially, it's so important to get the clarity that you need from someone who is trained. If you feel that the respect that you have for your spouse has been completely diminished, you can't even be around them without feeling repulsion, even after a separation phase may have been instituted to give you guys space, that usually means the end. Thirdly, you're the only one who knows how many times this lie has happened, or this breach in trust has happened, or this mistake has happened. If the lies have been stacked up over the years, if you've given your spouse a lot of opportunities, a lot of chances, and they're still disappointment that I'm talking about is the building of resentment and a big wall between you and your spouse where the bond also will be eroded and kind of destroyed. And only you can gauge this from being in a long-term relationship and seeing, like, is it just around the bend? Is this problem still happening? Lastly and fourthly, sorry to be a little bit more negative than positive, but it's important to realize that forgiveness is not going to be enough to save a relationship where there's an innocent bystander that is being harmed intensely. So this could be children, this could be someone else who's helpless, who's living with you. Talk about this is sometimes we're responsible for people, and it's hard to see our life decoupled from their lives. And that's just something that is a reality of shepherding other people. So you have to be a good leader. Know that the way of the faithful is to offer forgiveness in order to receive forgiveness and to show mercy if you want to be, shown mercy. At the same time, I don't want you to be stuck in a rut, in a place where it's unhealthy. So only you can decide that. I hope this was helpful.